All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I see a couple people in chat already. Welcome, welcome. If you're joining us, let us know in chat where you're coming in from. Love seeing how global our audience is. Oscar, hello. LVL Tech, what's up? Esser, sorry about names. What's up? Just Steve King. Great to see you all. Cynthia. So I'm here with Tony, who is...
Hey guys.
Would you call yourself like the mastermind behind the starter kits?
I would just say developer of the starter kits. I've been creating starter kits since I think even 4 or 5 years ago. So I have pretty good knowledge of building starter kits and all what's involved.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Tony is of Dev Dojo fame and has fantastic products. And I think a lot of that, would you say, has prepped you for your role here? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Laravel since probably version 3, and I've been building my own products using Laravel and the starter kits that they have. And I would say everything that I've worked on, even previous jobs that I've had, have all led up to me eventually getting my dream job at working at Laravel. So it's all been a progression up to this point.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I've followed your career for a long time, been around since Laravel v3 as well. And seeing you join Laravel, I was like, oh, that's just perfect. That's the place that I think Tony will do the most amazing work. And we're seeing that with these new starter kits. I think these are fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny that I sent this to Taylor and a few others in chat. And when it was Laravel version 3 or 4, this was before Composer, I actually released, it was called a bundle, and that was before we even had Composer. And I released an authentication bundle that was pretty much like a starter kit. It had login, registration, forgot password. And that was one of my very first contributions to Laravel. And it had to be more than 10 years ago. So it's pretty wild that it's gone full circle here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Gosh. Cool. So could you give us a little bit of a rundown of what we'll see today, what we'll talk about? I think a lot of people are really excited about the brand new starter kits, all of the flavors of them, React, Livewire, Vue. And yeah, could you give us an overview?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just start from the very beginning, and we'll just start off by installing each of the starter kits. And then I also wanted to show you guys how you might configure it, and that includes adding new menu items to the sidebar layout, to the header layout. I then also want to show you how you can add a new component. And then I also wanted to show you, we have a new version called, that has a WorkOS integration, which allows you to build a WorkOS as your main authentication scaffolding. I think a lot of people might be like OS, which is a paid product. And I think it's great that we have both of those options. And I just tried the WorkOS not too long ago. And it is so seamless, adding that. And then you basically add your key to your env file. You add a callback URL, and WorkOS is fully set up. You can do SSO authentication. And it's just wild how easy it is. I think then I'll show you how we can deploy to cloud. And this will kind of just be us hacking on stuff together, because even though I work at Laravel, I haven't had so much experience working on cloud. So I'm sure, Chris, I'll probably need a little bit of your help if I'm trying to figure out where things are. But yeah, I think we'll do configuring starter kits, how to install them, deploying to cloud. And then I think we'll leave 10 or 15 minutes for questions that you guys have. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And we like to keep this interactive. So as you have questions, if you have them during the stream, throw them here. I'll be taking notes or answering them direct as we go.
Yeah. So, feel free to interrupt too. If anybody wants to interrupt, and you can just hit me up with a question and I'll try and do my best.
Yeah. All right, Tony, which one are we starting on?
I think actually we'll just start with React. I think a lot of people, big React fans. React has such a big ecosystem. So we'll start off with React, and then we'll go to Vue, and then we'll go to Livewire.
Okay. So. And then just a note for you, we have Zag for me has a little bit of confusion about what Livewire is. So when you get to there, let's do like a little bit of an intro as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just created a new folder on my desktop called Starter Kits, and I'm going to use our favorite Laravel command.
Could you zoom on that?
Oh, yeah.
Bigger.
Any better?
Maybe a little more.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Okay.
Might be too much. We'll see.
So I'm just going to say Laravel new, and I'm just going to call this folder React. And we have which starter kit do you want to install? Obviously, you can choose none, React, Vue, or Livewire. So let's go ahead and choose React. And then this is the option that I was telling you about, that we can use Laravel's built-in authentication, or we can use the WorkOS authentication. So let's use the built-in authentication. And then you can choose your testing framework. By default, the starter kits, if you go to the repo themselves, it does use PHP unit. But if you choose Pest, we're actually using the Drift plugin to convert all of the PHP unit to Pest tests. So you can choose whichever one you feel most comfortable with. We'll just choose Pest, and then it goes through the installer on the screen. So you'll see as it finishes up, you'll see it creates the migrations, and then right here, you're going to see that it's going to convert all the PHP units tests to Pest. It'll have like some check marks.
And for yourself, are you using Pest?
Yeah, actually, I don't use PHP unit that often. I just always go to Pest. I think it's just a better syntax. What about you?
Pest as well. Yeah, and I try to like do the simplest version of it. Like, don't really have the full class and everything. It's just like simple functions.
Yeah, I think any abstraction that makes your life a little bit easier, even though the real magic under the hood is PHP unit, but Pest just makes the syntax so much nicer. Okay, so we just got done creating our new application, and I'm going to cd into that folder, and then we can run composer run dev. And this will boot up our application, and it should be available at react.test. I probably should have mentioned that I am using herd. So if you use herd on your machine, all the new folders that you create will map to that folder name .test. So let's open this up. And
what do you call the overall folder that you store all your Laravel apps in?
I mean, so I come from Valet. I call them the parked folder. But if you go into herd and you go to the settings, you can add, I guess we refer to them as herd paths. You can add as many as you want here. This is really nice because sometimes my sites folder would just get cluttered. I would have like 30, 40, 50 files in there, and it just gets so messy. So it's nice that you can just add a separate directory here, which is what I've done on the desktop. I just added the starter kits directory.
Nice.
Yeah.
So question, sorry, last one before you continue. Is a classic Blade starter kit planned for the future?
No, we don't have that right now, marked as something that we're going to work on. But I actually don't think it would be too difficult if you wanted to take the Livewire and convert that to a Blade version. I would keep on asking if there are enough requests for it. I don't think it would be that unheard of. I know Taylor may be like, don't you make promises, but if we get enough requests, it wouldn't be that difficult to build it. I actually started building one, and then we just didn't have enough time to get it out the door. But yeah, keep on requesting. If people really want it, maybe we can see down the road. And it actually shouldn't be that difficult to go from Livewire to just a Blade version.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
What about an API version? I've seen it a couple times in chat now.
Yeah. So actually, Alex asked about this on Twitter. I just commented about it this morning. So and something that's kind of confused me is that Fortify is a full API authentication. Like you can install Fortify in your Laravel application, and you can say you want API only mode, which gives you login, register, forgot password, all of those API endpoints. So I think that creating a starter kit with only API is kind of duplicating the work of an API only starter kit. And what you could do is you could just create a new starter kit, and then you could install Fortify on top of it. You remove the authentication routes, and you have a full like API only authentication starter kit.
Cool.
Maybe we can do a live stream where I can kind of walk through that too.
Yeah, that sounds like a good opportunity for like a tutorial or a video.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm interested to see like what people actually use in their front end when they choose the API only. Like, are they then building their own React front end or their own Vue front end? I wonder what the reason is for needing an API only. I'm sure there's plenty of use cases. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah. Steve King in chat, or anybody that wants this API starter kit, let us know what front end you're looking for. Ooh, we got a Flutter front end. Astra from Petruccio. What's up? Welcome.
Interesting. Oh, Petruccio, what's up, man? Yeah. Maybe it'll have to be like a future thing that we cover. Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump in. Any more questions?
Yeah, one last one on starter kits. Any thoughts on having a headless UI starter kit? I was using Vue from them, but since then it's been put on the back burner. So I'm curious if it ever came up on the starter kits side.
So a headless UI is what they're asking?
Yeah, is that, are we talking about like the Tailwind thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see.
So integrating these components into the starter kit?
That was from Bradley. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these components all look really nice. This is just a starting point for all the starter kits. I think we have a whole bunch of things planned, like we were saying, possibly like a SaaS starter kit, and maybe some of those may not include ShadCN, and they may include a headless UI. So it's totally possible in the future.
Yeah, I think and this isn't like planned roadmap or anything, from where I would like to see things go is to have a full-on like /starter kits directory on Laravel itself.
Yeah,
and
me too. That would be amazing.
We would love to just start building out more starter kits than the 3 that we started with. But yeah, this is a starting point. I'm sorry for holding the demo back. Let's keep moving on.
All good. Feel free to interrupt again if you need to.
Yeah, these are great questions.
So with every starter kit comes a full authentication system. So you have your register, you have your login, we got our forgot password, our password reset link, and confirm password. Then we also have our dashboard and our settings, which I will demo as soon as I log in here. Okay, so after we have logged into the application, this is our application dashboard. Oh, just zoomed in there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is built using the ShadCN UI library. We also integrated Tailwind v4, so you're getting the latest and greatest. We actually spent, I think it was last week, trying to get ShadCN and Tailwind v4, as well as Flux UI integrated with Tailwind v4. Probably a good thing to note also is the Vue version is built using the ShadCN Vue UI library, and that is not compatible with Tailwind v4 just yet. But I would say probably within the next week or two, we will have Tailwind version 4 compatible with the Vue starter kit.
And being on like this side of things, I saw the amount of crunch time that happened. Could you tell people a little bit about what your last week looked like, and like trying to line up Tailwind v4, ShadCN on Tailwind v4, and then the starter kits on v4?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool because I like had to dive headfirst into like what it takes to like migrate from Tailwind v3 to v4. Pretty cool also that ShadCN is like the coolest guy ever. I messaged him on Twitter, and within like a few hours later, he messaged me back, and I sent him over the starter kit. He kind of made some modifications to it and was helping me out along the way too. So it's pretty crazy that if you just reach out to somebody on Twitter, they'll, depending on who they are, they'll probably just get right back to you, and they can help you out with any integration that you're building. But yeah, it was kind of like late nights, but still fun. I enjoy building starter kits, and obviously love Laravel. So it was a good crunch time, but all successful too.
Yeah, right on. We got to go look at some stats on which one's the popular one too.
Yeah, I think I looked at the Git clones on GitHub, and I think it was the first day, it was like 250 Git clones as opposed to, I think Livewire was like 150. But I also don't know if those stats are related to like a composer create project. So whenever somebody does a composer create project, I wonder if that actually does a Git clone under the hood. That's one thing that I'm not sure of.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. Could you zoom in a little bit and then
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah. So this is the dashboard right here. You have all of your navigation on the left. All this stuff can be fully configured. You have your user dropdown, or I guess we could call this a user pop-up. Then you can go to your settings. You have your profile right here where you can change your name, email address, and you can also delete your account. Then we have the password. Enter your current password and your new password. And we also have the appearance. So dark mode is supported throughout all the starter kits through React, Vue, and Livewire. So if you click on dark mode, and if we were to log out, you can see that we get the nice, pretty dark mode on all our authentication views and everywhere throughout the starter kit. So probably a good time also to mention that these layouts are fully configurable. So here we have, it's just called a simple layout where you just have your login form, but we can modify this easily in the code. And let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Alrighty, I may have to zoom in a little bit. I don't know if that actually got moved over. Let's see. Okay, so we should go into our auth layout.
Yeah, could you zoom on that a little bit?
Yeah. Let me know what do you think about that? Let me move this over.
That looks good.
Looks good.
Okay, so moving into, you're doing layouts right now. We have some questions on, let me just like try to group them together.
Yeah.
I'll try to hit some a little quickly. Is the Vue Starter Kit using Inertia? Yes, it is.
Yep, all are using Inertia v2. So you get
Yes.
a lot of the cool stuff out of the box that comes with Inertia v2.
There's a lot of questions on comparisons of like Breeze and Jetstream to the new starter kits, especially on like authentication. And let's see. So you're doing layouts right now, and then could we touch on authentication right after that? And then there's also one on, do you plan to include a menu builder based on routes? I think you can show off like our menu builder situation in the current starter kits also.
And what do you mean by like menu builder? Like how you see the menu on the side, like the dashboard?
Yeah, and like I see it as like, how do you add menu items to the sidebar or the header in this setup?
Yeah.
The way I also read menu builder from Zostos on X is maybe pulling it from a database. Is that what we're talking about over there?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could just show what our current setup looks like.
Yeah, I can show how to add. I actually had that on the outline to show how you can add some menu items and to add a custom component too. I think like a menu builder, like if you're thinking like WordPress, it's probably a bit out of scope where you maybe like drag and drop like a menu and then you show it up on the front end. That would be something that would be totally custom and probably out of scope for the starter kits. But maybe if you wanted to build it and then release it to other people, maybe other people could find it like really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. He clarified it's hierarchical. Wow, what a word. Hierarchical menu, active status, all that good stuff. So nothing on like WordPressy.
Okay. Maybe we'll have to explore that more. I'm not too like sure. Is he saying like
I'm thinking of like nested items on the menu bar.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think Shad already supports.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably go through that in the video too. There might be a little bit of us like hacking together because I integrated that originally, and then right now whenever you add menu items, you just add them to the top down, but we can easily add like a menu group.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, most people probably know the structure of the default structure of a Laravel application. You may not. You may have to go to the documentation. But just to give you kind of an idea of where everything lives at in the React part, most of your logic is going to live inside of the resources JS folder. And this is obviously because React is a JavaScript library. So this is where a lot of your files, like your pages and your components, are going to live. So in here, we have obviously your components. We have some hooks. The layouts is where we change the, like I was saying, the authentication layout. So if we look at auth layout right here, we can see that our auth layout template is being called from this auth simple layout. So what you could do is you could actually just say auth card layout. And if we save that and go back here, you can see now we are inside of this card view. And I'm in dark mode, so it might be kind of hard to see. Let me take this off real quick. So this is kind of what the new authentication layout will look like. You also have the option to use a split layout, and this will give you this nice split layout. And my screen size might look a little weird because I've zoomed in, but it's a really nice layout. Like you have this left side and right side with your form. This is pretty popular in a lot of software as a services where you'll see like a nice graphic on the left and then the authentication form on the right.
So could you go a little bit further on that? Like, it's fantastic that you can just change the layout based on an import line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that's really cool about these new starter kits to me is that, very similar to Breeze, like all of the files that you have in the starter kit are yours to customize, right? So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's probably good to mention.
Yeah. What does it look like if I'm trying to update, like, let's say the quotes that show up on that split layout?
Yeah, so let's go into the layouts inside of the auth folder, and then you'll see all of them named right here. So if we wanted to change anything from the split layout, we go into the auth split layout. And if we scroll down here, we can see that these are actually being passed in from page props. And we could come down here. I could even just change this to something else. So here's where you could change the quote message. Probably even just take this off and hey, Mom. Let's see. That did not show up. Where are we at here? I think we may actually have to wrap this is in a div. Oh, okay. Hang on one second. Do I have my asset washer running?
Is it font color?
Yep. Yeah, it's the color. And I think we also have to, okay, so this would be, say class equals text white.
Class name.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nice. That not update. Class name equals text white. Come on, buddy. Work with me here. Oh, why is that not being reflected? That's weird. Huh. Let me
try closing the console. Oh, I was wondering if there was like an overlap because the console was closed. Yeah, is V running? I'm pretty sure it is, right? You ran the.
Yeah, so I think let me just try.
How many nines are you gonna do?
999. Yeah, so this is actually from Shad CN. What they do is, in order to get the background color, they have just like a full width div, and this was sitting behind that div. So probably something good to note. But if we were to set flex, oh, it's already flex call, so justify between, and there we go. So you can modify that. Yeah, anything in here is fully yours to customize. I would suggest that a lot of people go in there and make some modifications to the components. So you can go into like your resources, JS components. These all are meant to be customized. So all this stuff is essentially what we've built for you as a starting point. So you have like the app header, app logo. You'll obviously want to change the app logo with your logo. Inside the UI folder is all of the ShadCN UI components. Some people may not change those. They may just want to republish new ShadCN components and then just override the current ones. But Shad actually says that that's why they're made to be like kind of like copy and paste components, because you can go in there and customize it yourself. So if you feel really comfortable in React and Tailwind, you can go into the ShadCN components and modify, say, some of the alert. But if you want to look just like ShadCN, you can keep that there. Yeah, so that's the split layout. We have the simple layout and the card layout. So yeah, I would definitely recommend modifying some of it to like fit your own brand. But even if not, if you want to keep the default authentication, that may be totally fine, because what's really important is how your application functions and technically that you're getting users in your application. So let's jump back over to the application and let me log in again. Okay, so similar to how you can change the layout of your authentication, you can also change the layout of your application. So by default, we're using this sidebar layout, and we could go back into our JS layouts folder, and we can modify this inside of our app layout. So this is very similar to how the auth layout works. If you look inside of the app folder, you'll see that you have the app header layout and the app sidebar layout. So if you want to customize the way that your layout looks, you will modify either the sidebar layout, if that's the one you're using, or the header layout. So let me show you what the header layout looks like. So if we change that, you can now see, obviously, you have this header layout. You have all the same pages that you had before, your password, appearance. And let's go into the header layout. So inside of the header layout, we have really structured this so that way it makes sense. So if you look at the app header layout, you have an app shell, you have the app header, which is this part right here, and then you have your app content, which is where everything else lives in here. So let's say that we wanted to add a new menu item up here. What we could do is we could go inside of the app header. We look where that's at. That's inside of our components, app-header. So we go components, app-header. And you can see that we have our nav item right here. And then we also have these right nav items are right over here. And here is all the HTML that you can modify, or again, you can keep the same if you want. Let's go ahead and add a new menu item. Say title, let's say posts. So we save that, come back here, and now we have this post. If we click on that, it's going to give us a 404 not found because we have not created that page. How about we try and create that page real quick? So routes, web.php, hopefully most of you are familiar with this is where all of your routes live in your application. And we've also separated the authentication routes into its own routes/auth.php. This is all of your authentication routes. And then the settings live inside of the routes/settings. And these are all meant for you to customize as well. The authentication ones you may not want to touch, but the settings, I would actually recommend modifying that. So if this is your application and you wanted to have something else down here, like a personal info, maybe you wanted to get the person's address or any other thing, you can have your own menu item down here. They can click on that and they can update their info from there. So in that case, you could go into the settings.php add your own route and then add that functionality in there.
So could you pause right there real quick on the
Yeah.
settings page or settings routes?
Yep.
And I just want to take a look. So right now there's basically 3 pages, right? And each of those pages, like the settings page has 3 routes for it, for the get, the patch, and the delete.
Yep.
The password page has the get and the put, and the appearance page has just the get.
Yep. So with the settings profile or with the profile information, obviously you can, you'll get the page and then it'll display it right here. Then to patch is if I make an update here, that will send the patch request. And then if you want to delete your account, this will be the delete request.
Yep.
For the password, it's the same thing. This render is the get request. And then whenever you save or update your password, that is going to be sent using the put request. And the appearance is just a simple toggle. So all it needs is the get request on that one.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, if you're not familiar with how inertia works, you kind of create each route as if you were creating just like a standard HTML app where you have like a new request for the patch, a new request for the full page delete, and then inertia will kind of handle all those props and requests and provide that back to React in this case.
Yeah, and it's probably also good to mention, like pages is, if we go into the routes web.php, let's take a look at the maybe we want the dashboard. So we have the middleware authentication, so you must be authenticated before you hit the dashboard. And this inertia render is going to look for a dashboard page inside of your resources JS pages folder, which will be right here. And this is the dashboard.tsx. So this dashboard uses your application layout, and the application layout essentially uses the, we go into layouts, uses the application layout here. So whichever one you define, if you define the sidebar or the header bar, that is the layout that's going to be used for this dashboard page.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was actually, how about I close this out and then let's open up the Livewire version, and then I kind of want to get to that as well.
Yes.
Are there any questions specifically on the React version? Maybe we can cover that real quick and then jump over to Livewire.
Yeah, so let me batch a couple of these. Do the new starter kits support two-step authentication, or sorry, two-step verification, like Google Auth, like Jetstream has?
No, they do not have two-factor authentication. That is, so all these starter kits have feature parity with Breeze, and Breeze had the basic login, register, forgot password, your dashboard, your profile. We do not have two-factor authentication, or we do not have Teams functionality, and I would say we don't have that yet. We want to come up with a way that makes it modular to add these new types of functionality, like Teams or two-factor auth. We want a way that we can maybe like add that functionality and include it in each of the starter kits. So that's something that we're still working on right now. And yeah, I would just say stay tuned because more features are coming down the road.
So if I'm looking at like Jetstream and Breeze, well, Jetstream specifically, because you said we have feature parity with Breeze for these starter kits, right?
Yep.
So you've got Teams functionality coming out of Jetstream, right? You've got two-factor auth, and I think the third would be like API token authentication.
Yeah, which you can use Sanctum for that. And then there's also session-based authentication, which is provided in Jetstream that is not offered as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next question. Would you recommend removing the components and files that you don't need?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if you are going to say use like the app sidebar and you know that you're never going to use the app header, I mean, there's no reason to keep it in there. Same with some of the ShadCN components. If you don't foresee using any of those components, you can feel free to remove them. Which actually, That brings up a good point. Maybe I should show how to add a shadcn component before we switch over to Livewire. What do you think?
Yes, and I want to follow up on that question. If I wanted to delete a bunch of components, what do you recommend is like the best way to make sure that that component is like safe to delete?
Well, so if you open up your application, you can run the PHP unit tests. So you can run. Did I use pest in this? I can't remember. Vendor. Okay, so you can go vendor bin pest, and we can see all of our tests are passing. So what you can do is you can go through and delete them all you want. And if we delete one that's needed, we're going to run our tests and you're going to see some failures in there. So that's probably the safest way to do it.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. Updated my volume. What's up, Caleb? Caleb Porzio.
Hey, what's up, dude?
Livewire, Alpine, cool things.
Here. Shout out to Caleb. Thanks for helping me out with all the Flux UI stuff and for creating Flux because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Caleb, perfect timing. We're about to get into Livewire. I think Tony had one more thing he wanted to touch on here.
Yeah. So if you are using the React Starter Kit, you'll probably want to add a different component. So if you come to shadcn and you're like, hey, why don't you guys include the carousel component or the switch component, or you need to use it in your application, I am going to show you how simple that is to add. So here, the instructions are to run npx shadcn add switch. So let's go ahead and run that. And just close my sidebar. Okay, so right now it's asking me a few questions because I don't think that shadcn is, I don't think the latest has added Tailwind v4 support. So you may get a question that asks you, do you want to force add this component? And you can just press enter on that. So if we look inside of our resources, JS components UI folder, we'll now see that we have this new switch component. And I think people may not realize that shadcn, the UI library, is really just a set of components that is kind of like copied and pasted into your application. And then under the hood, shadcn uses Radix UI because they have all the accessibility and components that are like the base foundation of shadcn. So just in case you were wondering, like how you upgrade shadcn, typically you don't, because it's like components that you copy and paste into your project. But if you don't make any modifications to them, you can always overwrite those with new components that he releases. Okay, so we just ran that command, and now to use it, we just say import switch, and then we can call the switch like this. So I'm going to open up the dashboard page, and some of this placeholder data, I'm just going to remove this, and we'll just add our switch right here. We'll import that at the top, and let's check it out. So going to our dashboard page, hey-yo, we have a switch component. So just as simple as that, shadcn is an amazing library. All these components you can feel free to use in your application. It's just going to speed up the development time. I'm really big into Livewire is my jam, but after working with shadcn for a while, like it's just so cool to see how fast you can build things. But again, we have Flux UI for Livewire, so that's what I think I'll demo next. Are there any questions before we jump ship from React to Livewire?
I'm not seeing any more questions. One is profile upload in the near future.
Profile photo upload?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that could be a really good opportunity for a screencast showing you how to upload avatars using either React, Vue, or Livewire. Because it's actually really, really simple. I think the harder part might be to get like, whenever you upload an image, and sometimes people have like that you can scale how like wide the image is, or sometimes it's cropped inside of a circle. That's probably the more difficult part than actual upload functionality. But we'll see. Nothing planned yet to add it as a default functionality in the starter kits, but could be down the road.
Cool.
Yeah.
All
Alrighty.
right. Moving forward, you have no pressure or anything, but you have Caleb in the audience, and he says he's using one of the Livewire starter kit right now.
Nice. What are you building, Caleb?
Yeah, what are you building, Caleb? Is my volume really low? Hello, test.
I can hear you fine. I don't know, you might have to ask other people.
Yeah, everybody yell at me if my volume is still too low. I boosted it. Yeah, let me know.
Okay, so let's create a new Laravel application, and we're going to stick with Livewire. We're going to use the Laravel's.
Could you zoom on that?
Oh, yeah.
And then one question from, I don't know if it's Poke, but I'm going to say Poke because I'm hungry. Plans on a Livewire starter kit without Volt. I wonder if that's like a different question. Without Volt or with Folio? Is that like two separate questions? Either way.
Yeah. So if you didn't want Volt, it's actually really easy to move the functionality from Volt into their own components. So I don't know if we're going to do one that's like without Volt, because I feel like given 10, 15 minutes, you could probably port that over the Volt components just to native Livewire components. Folio, there is no plans yet, but I'm a big fan of Folio. I think it's cool to be able to just map, a route to a file and then have all of your logic in there. But for now, no direct plans on that. What are your thoughts on Folio, Chris?
I love Folio. I personally don't know if like they belong in a starter kit, just because I think there's like a level there that maybe not everyone wants Folio, right? So then there's the question of, how do I remove Folio and just have Livewire and Volt? Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions here in the chat, which me being on the DevRel team, I think we can help answer that by doing a lot more education on like maybe streams, maybe tutorials, blog posts, that kind of stuff on how to modify the starter kits.
Yeah,
so I think
that would be
help
great.
There. Yeah. A lot of questions on API only starter kit that are coming up. Let's see.
Yeah, so also just, so this is not an official Laravel starter kit, but I think it was maybe like a year and a half ago, I created a starter kit called Genesis, which is Volt and Folio. And maybe I'll have to upgrade this to Laravel version 12 because I think it's version 11 right now. But if you do want to go like a full Folio and Volt route, this could be an option as well.
Cool. Yeah, I remember when you launched that. Beautiful work.
I was like, I think when I seen, was it not last year, but the year before when Taylor released Folio and then Volt, and I think I was just so enamored with how simple it was going to be. And I was like, I got to create a starter kit for this. So I just like ducked my head in a cave for like a month and a half and then built that. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. All in on Livewire. Let's do it.
Okay. So I just created a new application. It's called Livewire using the Laravel installer. So if we visit livewire.test, boom, we have the beautiful Laravel 12 landing page, and it looks very similar. So I don't think there's much difference on the authentication views. You can also customize these views. So similar to how you could have the split layout or the card layout. Yeah. Yeah, let me show you how you can modify the layout in the Livewire starter kit. So I might need to zoom in on this too. Let's see, resources, views, components, layouts, off. Okay, how's that look?
Perfect.
Okay, so we have layouts auth simple, and as you might have guessed it, you can just change this to card. And if we come back here we'll now see that we have the card layout. I don't think I have my asset watcher running. Otherwise, that should have hot reloaded. Let's go back. So we have card layout. We also have the split layout. Come on, hands. Type. There we go. Okay, so here's the split layout. And if you wanted to modify this inside of the Livewire, I feel like this is a little bit easier because essentially this is just Blade. So you can go into the resources, views, components, layouts, and inside of the auth, we have the split layout right here. So here is the quote. I actually have to zoom out a little bit to see the whole thing right here. Yeah, so this is all just a Blade file. You have all the HTML right here. We can modify. Let's try this again. Hey, Mom. Yeah, so you just modify it, and you can customize any of these layouts, make it however pretty or ugly you would like.
Nice. So there's a question on, where was it? Option to select a database. By default, what are we doing with database for all the starter kits?
Yeah, so I think a few years back, Taylor made all the, whenever you ran Laravel new, it just defaulted to SQLite. So that's what these are all defaulted to as well. I think it's a smart choice, especially if you're starting off just building a new application. You don't have to worry about creating a new SQL database or MySQL or Postgres. And if you ever need to switch at any time, it's as simple as modifying that inside of your .env file.
Nice. I think, so you're probably going to go into the dashboard next, right?
Yep.
So one thing I want to touch on here, I think there's a lot of questions on like, hey, are we doing a Blade starter kit? What is the difference between Blade? Like, why would we use Livewire? I think, I think this is a great opportunity to like use the dashboard area and kind of show maybe a little Livewire tutorial here and kind of talk up Livewire.
Okay, yeah. So after we log in, we're here at the dashboard page, and let's find this page by going to resources, views, and this is inside of our dashboard Blade right here. I think of what would be the best way. Yeah, so inside of the Livewire folder is where all of our Vault components will live. So if we say look at the settings page and we go to profile, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, you'll see that we have logic up here at the top, and then below that logic we have our template. So this is what is really cool about Livewire is that, and especially Vault, you can have your logic in one place, you have all of your logic, and then your template right below that. If you have not had any familiarity with Livewire, I think the best way to explain it is it takes Blade and it allows you to easily talk to the backend. So you can create, if you look at this, say this wire model right here, this is actually this is tying this name property to the backend name public property. So it allows you to, yeah, zoom in.
Yeah. And then, yep, maybe a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know if, I'm sure many people are familiar with doing Axios posts or even doing the native JavaScript fetch to get some backend data, then display it with JavaScript on the front end. And Livewire takes away all of that madness. You don't have to worry about the AJAX requests. You do have to be worried about maybe if you're, saying like ID equals 2 and you pass that. Although check out the Livewire documentation, he talks all about how you can protect against like the best security measures. But even if you're using Fetch or Axios, you still have to have those same protection measures. So if we were to say click on save, let's find the save button. So we have the save button right here, and we have our form at the top. And whenever this form is submitted, we are saying we want to call this method right here, this update profile information. And if we look up here, we will see update profile information. So let me just do a simple DD. Hey, mom. And if we go into our settings, make a change here, click on save, then we get that message right here. So we don't have to worry about those AJAX requests or whether you're going to use fetch or Axios. This is all handled for you with Livewire. I don't know, what would be the best way that you would explain what Livewire is to people, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, let's default to Caleb. Caleb, what's like the quickest demo? I know we're coming up on time here. We're at 50 minutes. So let's say we'll do like a quick 1 minute, I don't know, counter example. Classic counter, and then we'll go through any other like parts of the Livewire starter kit you want to touch on.
Yeah, so to create a new Livewire component, you can just say PHP artisan make component counter, and we will have a new file created inside of our, go to our app, view, counter.php, and just a simple class. And then we also have the view inside of resources views, Livewire, resources views, components, counter. So we have our file right here. So let's say that inside of the counter, we just added, come on fingers, public count. Okay, so we have this count variable, and we should just be able to print it out right here. Count. So this is where I'm not as familiar with Volt. I think we can do route : Volt, right? Or Volt : route. That's what we do, right?
Yes.
So we say that we want, whenever we hit the counter route, we want to
just hit tab there. I think that'll, well.
Oh, is it supposed to be a components counter?
Yeah.
And will that map to it? Components.counter. I think we should actually just do the full namespace, right? Oh, you know what?
Was it a Volt?
Oh, no. I created just a regular Laravel component, right? That would be why. PHP artisan make Livewire counter. Aha. That would make sense. Caleb's probably like, what are you doing, man? Okay, so let's try this again. The class component is now inside of app livewire counter.php. Yeah, this looks a bit more familiar. And then the view is inside of resources views livewire counter.blade.php. And the differences between, like, this is what's just called a traditional Livewire component, where you have a class and a view. But whenever you use Volt, you can create just its own file, and you have the logic up here at the top, and then you have the template down here at the bottom. So do you know the command to create a Volt file? I think that should just be PHP artisan make Volt.
Just make Volt, yeah.
Let's try it. We'll call this new counter. Yeah, so this will create it at resources views livewire new counter.play.php. So this has it's called co-location of logic and files. So all of your logic and your template lives in the same place. But if you don't like that, you can just use the traditional Livewire components, which creates a class and a view. But let's go ahead and just use this new counter to say count, and we'll create a public count equals 0. And I think I called this counter, new counter. So we'll have to map to that. We have this volt route settings.profile. Oh, should just be count new counter. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So right now count is set at 0. And this is just the coolest stuff that we could create a button down here. And I can say wire submit. I can call an increment method and just say increment.
You probably want wire click on that.
So now we create, what did I put? Wire submit. Good call. Look at this, AI does it all for me. So we create the public method increment, and this is going to increment the counter right here. So if we come back here, click on the button, then it's automatically incrementing for us. So this is just like when you think about, I remember when I first seen Caleb doing some demos and I'm like, yeah, big deal, it's a counter. But what you don't realize is that this is actually hitting the network and then modifying that value. So this means that you can fetch things from the database, or you can do anything in PHP and then automatically get the response back. Then I think a counter example is just the simplest way to show you how simple this stuff is.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people that are leaning to the Blade way of doing things, like Livewire still has the Blade syntax. It's actually a .blade.php file, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of like benefits there, but I think Livewire helps you do that connection between the backend, right?
Yeah, and if you wanted to still use Blade, I mean, we could create a new file and just call this hello.blade.php, and then hello, mom. My mom's getting a lot of shout outs here. That's web. So then I could just map this view to, what do I call that? Hello. Hello. So that isn't using any Livewire, it's just using Blade. And you could feel free to use Blade inside of this starter kit if you wanted to. But I think even Taylor would say, like, if you have like all the powers of Livewire and all the stuff that it can do, like, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to use it. I think it's probably just that people aren't aware of how to use it. And then I'm the same way too. If some new technology comes out, I'm like, I don't want to use that new technology. I want to use the stuff I know. And It's so funny because Alpine Livewire came out and I was big into Vue and Laravel, and I was so stubborn. I was like, why do I got to learn Alpine, and what is this Livewire? And then I took a weekend, I learned about it, and I just fell in love. So yeah. You can fall in love too.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're coming up on time. I want to not go too far over. So what other things about the Livewire Starter Kit do you want to show us? I had a question about, what was it? Floating sidebars with Flux.
Floating sidebars with Flux. Yeah.
Similar to how Shad's sidebar can kind of like. Oh.
Yeah. Right now there is no customizations like the floating sidebar in Flux. That the Shad CN sidebar has a lot of like customizations, which just isn't available in Flux right now. Maybe if Caleb's still here, it could be something, especially since it's open source now too. So people can submit PRs to Flux UI and have this more modular sidebar that can have like a floating style or all the different styles that Shad has.
Yeah. Could you pull up the starter kit in Chrome again?
Okay. What do you want me to go to?
Just bring it up and do like, I don't know, more of a tour, hit the settings page, kind of like similar to just navigate around and show people kind of what all they get.
Yeah. So all three starter kits have all the same pages. You have your login, registration, reset password, forgot password, your dashboard, and then you have your profile settings page with your password and your appearance. There's also the password confirmation. So say that we didn't want somebody to get to this profile page unless they confirmed their password. We could go into our settings route. Oh, routes web.php. Oh, that's right. This one has the settings inside of the routes web.php. So here we can add this middleware. And we call this password.confirm, or it's either confirm.password. Let's see. Yeah, so it automatically reloaded and it showed me this confirm password page. So if we go to the dashboard and we try to go to the settings, it's going to say, hey, before you access this page, you need to enter in your password. So nice. You can put that middleware on any page that you want, and then it'll require people to add their password before they can gain access to that page.
That's cool. Is that,
yeah.
How many other middlewares, is that like the main middleware that was added?
Yeah, I think that's the main one. That is in the documentation as well. I think one of the other things maybe that I should mention real quick is email verification. So if we want the user to verify their email, you can go into the user.php, and there is this, it's commented out right now. It's the must verify email contract. So you comment this out, and then you would say that you want the user to extend authenticatable and implement must verify email. So now if we do that and we come back here to sign up, verify my email. But before I do that, I don't know if I have my .env set up correctly for email. Do you remember what the herd credentials are?
Oh, I do not.
Password. Let me take a look real quick. Herd.lar. Yeah, so it should show me what the .env should be in here. There we go. Oh, maybe that is set. So 1270.
Yeah, maybe it's default.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Loco says herd ones are commented out. Nice.
Yeah. So it will send me the email. Then I can verify my email here, and just as simple as modifying that inside of your user.php.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like you put a lot of work into kind of matching the feature set and the UI on both the Inertia side and the Livewire side.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for any new project I would build, I would be using one of these starter kits. Just you get all that stuff out of the box. Do we have enough time for the Work OS integration? I could probably demo that in like 5 minutes.
Nah, I think we'll have to save that for another stream. There's a bunch of questions we should get through.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
There was one interesting question way up in the chat that I didn't get to. If somebody does a PR to, let's say, the Livewire Starter Kit, do you want them to also do the PR on the Inertia, React, and Inertia View side, and then just have like feature parity across all three? Or would you kind of expect them to just do the one that they want to do, and then the team goes and kind of matches that across the starter kits?
Yeah, I would say if you're submitting it to either React or Vue, depending on really what it is, you can try and submit it to both of them, but they are structured different. If it's like a whole new feature that you're adding, then you probably want to submit that to both React and Vue. Well, actually React, Vue, and Livewire. So yeah, I mean, it really depends. If it is like a full-on feature, although we are going to be pretty strict on adding, new features. Say that you add like the profile upload or something like that. It's iffy as to whether or not we're going to approve that, just because, as Taylor says, all this stuff that we build, we have to manage ourselves. So if you do submit like a big feature, it may be a little bit tougher to get that approved, but who knows? You do a great job, leave a lot of notes, and we may approve it.
Cool. How does it feel having worked on these for so long? I don't know how long you worked on them actually, but like having them out in the wild now, getting feedback. Yeah.
That feels good. I think having my head in the weeds for so long, and then being able to take a step back and look at like the foundation of everything, I feel like I basically just like I get to level up each time. So at the very beginning, just getting all these together, with login and dashboard and all that stuff, like it seemed a little foreign to me, but now all that is like a solid foundation. So now I'm going to be able to build a lot more things on top of it. Plus, being the one who built the starter kits, I'm like, I have so many ideas for apps that I want to create. And since I know all the inner workings of it, I can really do some cool stuff. But if anybody wants to dig into the source code, it's really, really not that complicated. If you have any questions about it, feel free to hit me up and I would be more than happy to help. If you have any ideas on how to improve things, I'm open to that as well. I think this is something that's open source, so it should be collaborative. And if we're all working towards bringing Laravel to the next level, and I think a lot of us probably on the stream know too, like Laravel is where it's at to build full stack applications without having to use hundreds of NPM packages or composer packages. So we're all building this together. If you guys have any input on how we can make it better, feel free to hit me up, and more than open to hear out suggestions.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good feedback coming from the comments as well. Like, I don't want to say that we're like ignoring all these great questions. A lot of requests for like an API only type of starter kit. A lot of questions earlier about Blade specifically. I think, yeah, doing this, like jumping into the comments, adding in all of your feedback there, I think this is really helpful, especially giving us feedback. We bring it back to the team, all that good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to wrap up here. So yeah, if you want any last requests, last questions, throw them in chat. And if you could hit a like or subscribe on the YouTube channel, definitely helps YouTube kind of recommend us and Laravel a little more. Thanks, Hugo, for joining.
Yeah, thank you guys for hacking with me. And I hope you guys enjoy the starter kits. And feel free to hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. I'll see what I can do to get to you, but may not have all the time, but feel free to hit me up. And if I have the time, I'll get back to you.
Cool. Right on. Appreciate everybody for joining. And yeah, we'll be signing off here. Let's let some final comments roll in. Stay awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Yeah. Benjamin, cool. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. And actually, in a couple hours, I want to say in a couple hours, we have Joe Dixon, who is leading the Laravel Cloud team. He'll be on the Laravel Worldwide Meetup, which you can find at meetup.laravel.com. So yeah, that'll be going live in a couple hours. And we'll see you over there. Bring all of your Laravel Cloud questions over there. And yeah, we will see you next time. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a good one.
See you guys.